One of America's most controversial defense attorneys just died at 80 years old, and his name is trending not because of his legendary courtroom victories, but because of one client whose shadow follows him even in death, Jeffrey Epstein. Roy Black passed away Monday at his Coral Gables home after battling an illness. But here's what makes this story so complicated. This wasn't just any defense attorney. This was the man who helped orchestrate what federal investigators would later call one of the most lenient plea deals in American legal history. You probably heard the name Jeffrey Epstein, the billionaire financier who died in a Manhattan jail cell in 2019 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. But what you might not know is that Epstein faced similar charges over a decade earlier in Florida. And that's where Roy Black enters the story. In 2007, Black was part of an elite legal team that included Alan Dershowitz and Kenneth Starr. Their mission? Keep Jeffrey Epstein out of federal prison. And they succeeded in ways that still shock legal experts today. Here's what happened. Federal prosecutors were building a case that could have put Epstein away for life. The allegations were horrifying. Dozens of underage girls, some as young as 14, were allegedly abused at Epstein's Palm Beach mansion. But instead of facing federal charges, Epstein got what prosecutors later called an unprecedented deal. Through negotiations led by Black and his team, Epstein pleaded guilty to just 2 state-level misdemeanors. The sentence? 13 months in county jail with work release privileges. That means Epstein could leave jail for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, for crimes that typically carry decades in federal prison. But here's where it gets even more controversial. The deal didn't just protect Epstein. It gave immunity to any potential co-conspirators. And the victims? They weren't told about the agreement until after it was signed. In fact, prosecutors sent letters to victims saying the case was still under investigation months after the deal was already done. Assistant U.S. Attorney Marie Villafaña later revealed that Epstein's lawyers, including Black's team, specifically objected to notifying victims. Only 3 victims were told after the deal was signed. No one else was informed. The Department of Justice would later investigate this plea deal. Their conclusion? The prosecutors involved used poor judgment but didn't break any laws. The deal stood. Until 2019, when federal prosecutors in New York brought new charges against Epstein. This time, there would be no deal. But Epstein died in his jail cell before trial. His death ruled a suicide. Now, Roy Black wasn't just Epstein's lawyer. His client list reads like a celebrity who's who. William Kennedy Smith, nephew of JFK, acquitted of rape charges in a trial that captivated America. Rush Limbaugh, defended on prescription drug charges. Justin Bieber, represented after a DUI arrest. Race car driver Helio Castroneves, acquitted of tax evasion. Black earned his reputation as the greatest of all time in Miami legal circles. Fellow attorneys compared him to Michael Jordan. He worked harder than anyone, they said, never gave up, always believed he could win. He started at the public defender's office in Miami, representing people who couldn't afford lawyers. By the end of his career, he was charging hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend the wealthy and powerful. He wrote books, appeared on TV, taught at the University of Miami Law School for over 40 years. His personal life had its own drama. Black met his third wife, Leah, when she served as a juror in the William Kennedy Smith trial. She later starred on Real Housewives of Miami. They had a son together, RJ. But today, as news of Black's death spreads, it's the Epstein connection that dominates the conversation. Because while Black won many famous cases, the Epstein plea deal remains one of the most controversial moments in modern legal history. Think about this for a second. A man accused of trafficking dozens of minors got less jail time than many people served for drug possession. The victims weren't informed, co-conspirators got immunity, all negotiated by some of the best lawyers money could buy. Was Black just doing his job as a defense attorney? That's what the legal community argues. Everyone deserves representation. Even the worst criminals need lawyers. It's how our justice system works. Or did Black help a predator escape justice? That's what critics say, that his legal brilliance enabled Epstein to continue abusing victims for another decade. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Black was a defense attorney doing what defense attorneys do, getting the best possible outcome for his client. But when your client is Jeffrey Epstein and the outcome is 13 months for trafficking minors, it raises questions of justice that go beyond one lawyer or one case. Roy Black died at 80, remembered by colleagues as a legal giant. But his legacy will forever be complicated by that 2008 plea deal. Because sometimes winning in court doesn't mean justice was served. What do you think? Was Black just doing his job as a defense attorney, or did he cross a line? Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.